Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's story is the continuation in the chilling and twisted world of my good friend CarlB's spine-tingling series. Of course, as ever though, please do let us know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help build the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag TeamFEAR and DMT's Cryptid crew. And so, with that aside, let's get into tonight's story. Entitled, I'm trapped in my house, and something is in here with me. I think I'm in hell. Part 3. Let's get straight into that. Chris and I looked down from the ceiling. We made eye contact for a split second, and then we bolted out of the kitchen, and Chris knocking the chair he had been sitting on over as he stood up violently. We raced down the front hall to the stairs. Chris was in the lead, and Kate, who had been on her way to the den to try and comfort Annie, heard the scream as well and changed direction, hurrying behind us. Chris took the stairs 2 at a time and made it to the second floor hallway, and Adam appeared, crashing into his stepfather, almost bowling him over and sending him crashing down the stairs into me and Kate. Adam was panting hysterically, his face pale, his eyes wide with fright. "Christ, kid, you scared the fuck out of us. What happened?" Chris asked him. "There's a monster in the bathroom," Adam blurted out, nearly screaming, and the 3 of us looked at him. "What the hell are you talking about?" Chris said. "I was filling the sink and I saw it behind me in the mirror. It tried to grab me," Adam explained and then burst into tears. Chris and I exchanged worried looks. He looked back to Adam. "Stay right there." I looked around at Kate. "Keep an eye on Adam. We'll be right back." She looked alarmed when she realized what I was going to do. "Nick, you can't." "We have to check it out. Just stay here." She looked at me, scared but nodded. She went to Adam and put her hands on his shoulders, trying to comfort him as he sobbed. I turned to Chris, who nodded, his face tense, and we started down the hall to the bathroom. As we passed the door to the bathroom, Kate and I shared. I had a thought and stopped. "Hey, give me a sec," I told Chris, and entered. I went to the closet, opened it and dug around in the back, behind the hanging clothes until I found the rifle case. I took it out and placed it on the bed, unzipping it and removing a Mossberg 12-gauge pump-action shotgun I had bought 2 years earlier for home defense after a slew of break-ins in the area. I made sure it was loaded and then took it with me into the hallway. Now Chris was surprised to see the sight of the shotgun. He eyed it and nodded, impressed. "Didn't know you were the type," he said. "Better safe than sorry," I replied. "You any good with that thing?" I tried it out a few times at the shooting range. And he nodded, and we continued, walking slowly and cautiously to the bathroom door, which was at the end of the hallway. As we crept towards the door, I felt fear growing within me and spreading through my body in pulses that seemed to synchronize with my rapidly beating heart. I felt jittery with nerves and the anxious sense of dreadful anticipation. I was scared shitless. The bathroom door was wide open. I could hear water running within. There was no other sound. Chris and I crept to the door and flattened ourselves against the wall just outside. I was closest. I raised the shotgun and made sure the safety was off. I looked at Chris, who looked back at me tensely, and nodded. I took a deep breath and rolled into the doorway, aiming a shotgun at nothing. The bathroom, it was empty. I sighed, relaxing, lowering the shotgun. My whole body seemed to go slack with relief. I turned to Chris. "It's clear," I said, and then entered the bathroom. Adam had left the faucet on and the sink was close to overflowing. I quickly shut off the faucet. Chris stepped into the doorway, looking around. I glanced up at the medicine cabinet mirror and froze. The bathtub was directly behind me. The shower curtain was closed. I couldn't see if there was anyone or anything lurking on the other side. I spun around, tensing back up and leveled the shotgun at the shower curtain. Chris's eyes followed the shotgun to the shower curtain, and he realized what I was thinking. I looked at him and motioned with my head for him to pull back the curtain. Clenching his jaw, he crept over to the tub and reached out for the shower curtain. He grasped it, and his eyes met mine. I nodded. With a grimace, he yanked back the shower curtain, the metal rings rattling on the rod. The bathtub was full of water, and nothing else. This time we both sighed with relief, nearly in unison. Chris sat down on the closed toilet lid and chuckled to himself. That fucking crazy kid must have imagined it. Well, don't be too hard on him. We're all pretty wound up right now. No, why? And he was cut off by a sound coming from downstairs. Another scream, this one more high-pitched and feminine. A scream of pure terror, and this was followed by a loud crash. Annie! Oh, Christ! Chris exclaimed in alarm. He got up and we ran out of the bathroom. Kate and Adam were still standing near the top of the stairs, and they were looking down, their eyes wide at the shrill, nerve-wracking screams that were emanating from the den. We ran down the hall, past them. Kate started to say something to me, but I cut her off. Stay up here with Adam. Don't come downstairs, I told her without stopping. Chris lunged down the stairs with me after him. When we got to the bottom, I heard another crash from the den, followed by a sound that caused us both to halt in our tracks. A sound that seemed to freeze me to the core of my soul. An unearthly, primal roar, an inhuman sound of rage and hatred. Annie's voice sounded from behind the closed den door, a frantic and terrified shout. Get away from me! Don't touch me! No! Her voice broke at paralysis. Annie! Chris screamed and pushed me aside, going to the door and turning the knob. I was locked. He kicked it hard twice before the lock snapped and the door flew open. And he saw what was happening inside, and his eyes widened, almost comically, in disbelieving horror. I went beside him and saw what he was seeing. The den had been trashed, furniture knocked over and smashed to pieces. I took this in, and then my eyes locked upon the monstrosity on the other side of the room, and with his back to me and Chris, and I began to shake. It was skeletal and humanoid in shape, but grotesquely misshapen, and it was huge, at least 9 feet tall and 3 feet wide from shoulder to shoulder. Its entire body was coated with a layer of soot and ash, as if it had been in a fire. Or it was slightly transparent, vaporous, like a ghost, yet clearly corporeal, somehow, because it had a hold of Annie in one of its taloned hands, and was holding her 3 feet off the ground, pinning her to the wall. Annie's clothes were torn and her body was lacerated with long, ragged cuts. Her bulging eyes were focused on the abomination that had her in its clutches. Her eyes looked over its shoulder and spotted us in the doorway. Help me! She shrieked at us. Chris sprinted forward, charging the monster that had his wife. I had spun its head around to us, and I saw its face. Oh God, its face. It had a head like a goat skull with curled horns and a long snout that ended in a huge mouth full of long, sharp teeth. Its eyes were empty black sockets from which twin points of red light glowed. It emanated another of its terrible roars. Let her go! Chris screamed as he ran towards it. It swung its free arm out with blinding speed and struck him in a vicious, powerful backhanded blow that sent him flying across the den to crash into the wall. He fell on his ass against the wall, his cheek bleeding and dazed. I turned his attention back to Annie, who screamed again. Shoot it! Chris shouted at me. I raised the shotgun in my trembling hands and took aim. But Annie was in direct line of fire behind the creature. I can't, I yelled at him. It'll hit them both, and Chris got up and hurried over to me. Give me that. He yanked the shotgun away from me and ran up to the thing from its side. He aimed the shotgun up at its hideous head and fired. The explosion was deafening. while the blast seemed to pass through the creature's head without actually hitting it, doing no damage at all. He pumped the shotgun, ejecting the spent shell, and fired again and again. But it was like trying to shoot something insubstantial, like mist. I could see the shot pellets embedded into the wallpaper on the other side of the thing's head. In desperation, Chris reversed the shotgun and swung the butt at the side of its head. The butt passed through its head like it was smoke. Enraged, the thing turned to Chris and swiped its claw down his chest, tearing his shirt and leaving 4 long, deep gashes in his skin. Chris howled in pain and fell back. He looked at me, helpless. "Do something!" he screamed. I realized I had been standing there in the doorway the entire time, frozen in shock and horror, like a coward, while my brother risked his life to save the woman he loved. I looked around frantically for anything I could use as a weapon. I grabbed a splintered chair leg and hurled it at the monster. Again, the chair leg just passed through its body without actually impacting, and I realized, with an overwhelming wave of despair and hopelessness, that there was nothing we could do to fight this thing. Nothing we could do to save Annie. And as I watched, it raised its free hand and flexed its long, sharp claws before swiping them across Annie's throat. The claw slashed deeply, nearly severing her head, which fell back at a grotesque angle, nearly unhinged from its body, widening the gaping gash in her throat, and blood spurted out in a hideous arterial spray. Finished, it dropped Annie, who fell to the floor with a thud, dead before she even hit the carpet. "No!" Chris wailed. The creature turned and looked first to me, and then Chris, favoring us with its burning red gaze, lingering on each of us. I think I understand what that look meant. I was marking us for the next time. Marking us for death. I had snarled with rage and then vanished, disappearing into thin air and leaving us alone in the den with the destruction it had caused, and Annie's corpse. She lay there with her eyes still wide and staring blankly up at the ceiling, her mouth agape, a pool of blood slowly forming around her head. And Chris knelt down beside her, stroking her face gently. He lowered his head and did something I had never seen him do before. He began to weep softly, like a child. I'm trapped in my house, and something is in here with me. I think I'm in hell. Part 4. Let's get straight into that. I stood there in the den doorway, my mind reeling. I felt unreal, like I was an imaginary creation in someone else's nightmare or a fictional character in a horror film. My brain felt jammed up, like a computer that had been forced to process too much data all at once. I couldn't assess the mayhem I had just witnessed, the horrific beast and Annie's slaughter. Chris continued to weep over his wife's mangled body, and part of me wanted to approach him and offer consolation, but I couldn't will myself to move forward, and part of me was afraid he might attack me if I touched him. He was in an extremely emotional, distressed state. Who knew how he might react in that moment? I heard running feet in the front hall and turned to see Kate and Adam fast approaching, their faces frantic. My head had cleared enough by this point for me to understand that I could not allow Adam to witness this scene. His mother butchered, his stepfather sobbing over her. And I stepped into their paths, blocking them. "What's going on?" Kate demanded. "Don't let him see this, Kate. Stop him. For Christ's sake, he cannot see this." Adam tried to dart past her to enter the den, but Kate, thank God, listened to me and caught him in her grasp, stopping him short. He went wild, screaming and struggling against her. "No, let me go, let me go. I want to see my mom, let me go. I want to see my mom." He was kicking and thrashing so violently, I was afraid she was going to lose her grip on him. But then he abruptly stopped fighting and went slack in her arms. He lowered his head and began to cry. I think he understood, on some basic level, without actually needing a visual confirmation, that his mother was gone. Kate stroked his hair and did what she could to console him, shooting me a frightened and questioning look. Not now. I mouthed her, but I think she could tell from my pale face and somber expression that it must have been pretty horrible. We took Adam into the living room, after I made sure to close the den door so he couldn't look in, and sat him on the couch. He continued to cry the whole time. Kate remained with him while I went to the kitchen and got a bottle of nighttime cold medicine from one of our cabinets. When I returned, his sobs had died down to infrequent sniffles. I gently forced him to take a dose, and after about half an hour, he drifted off to sleep. Kate covered him with the Afghan from the back of the couch and then looked at me. And I gestured for her to follow me, and we went into the kitchen and sat across from each other at the table. "What happened to Annie?" she demanded. "What was that screaming? We heard something like an animal roaring. And where's Chris?" "Chris is still in the den with Annie. She's dead, Kate." Kate didn't look as shocked by this as I had expected. She must have suspected that from the way I had behaved when I tried to enter the den. "How?" she asked. I told her what had happened, everything, and her face paled as I told my story. She looked increasingly horrified and sickened. When I finished, she just stared at me for what seemed like a long time. I think she was still trying to absorb everything I had just told her. And finally, she said, in a low, strengthless, shaking voice, "Jesus Christ." And she looked at me. "What was it, Nick? What was that thing?" I shook my head. "I don't know. I never saw anything like it. It was some kind of..." I shrugged, unable to come up with a better definition for the beast I had seen. Monster. "Where did it come from?" she asked me as if she expected me to know. "I don't know, Kate. I just don't know." "You said the den door was locked?" "Yes. Chris had to kick it in." "Well, were there any windows broken?" "Not that I noticed. Besides, we would have heard it." "Well, how in the hell did that thing get in there with her in the first place?" "I don't know, Kate," I said with a touch of exasperation at her endless questions to which I had no answers myself. And something seemed to dawn on her then. "Right before it happened, Adam said he saw a monster in the bathroom." "Yeah, I know. I was there." "But when you and Chris investigated the bathroom, it was empty." "Yes." "Do you think the monster Adam saw could be the same thing that killed Annie?" "I don't see how it could have been. You and Adam were by the stairs the whole time. It would have had to have snuck past you. And besides, like you said, how could it have gotten into the den anyway, with the door locked?" "Nick, you said after it killed Annie it just vanished, into thin air. What if it appeared in the same way? What if this thing can just appear wherever it wants to, just pop into existence?" I stared at her, feeling a chill. I had been in too much mental turmoil, too distracted by the horror of Annie's brutal death and dealing with its aftermath, to have given this possibility any consideration. But she was right. "Oh shit," I said with dread. "It could appear out of nowhere, any time, any place to attack us," she said. The cold realization hit me right then, like a fist in my face. We had been so stupid. Chris was still in the den with Annie's body. Adam was asleep in the living room. Both of them were alone. "Oh shit," I repeated, this time loudly and with more urgency. Across from me, Kate's eyes widened as she too came to the same realization I had. I stood up, my chair screeching across the kitchen floor as I scooted it back. "Chris! Adam! We have to..." And at that moment, the worst thing that could have happened. The lights went out. Wow, 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 wow. Certainly another one. Wow. Absolutely chest-pounding, intriguing and twisted and demented story there. From the incredible mind of my good friend, CarlB1961. Over on Reddit, no sleep. Really do expect nothing less of Carl's work. Such a fantastic author. Such exciting and different stories each and every time. Please do make sure you head over to the link, of which I'll leave in the description box below. That'll take you over to Carl's Reddit, where you can smash the upvotes, leave a comment or two, and help him build his presence as a writer on the Reddit platform. Of course, as ever though, guys and girls, you know the drill here. Please do let us know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help build the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag TeamFEAR and DMT's Cryptid Crew. Stay tuned for the continuation of this series tomorrow night. There's quite a few chapters to get through, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And why not set the notification bell to all notifications to stay up to date with the channel posts and channel content. Of course, if you're an aspiring writer, want to get in touch with me at the brand new contact email, which is, as on screen, contactthedeadone@gmail.com. I really look forward to hearing from you. Well, I hope everybody's having a fantastic start to the week, whether you're at school or at work. Maybe you're a long-distance driver. Whatever it is that you do, I hope you're enjoying it and you're taking a fight back to life and getting fully stuck in. But above all, guys, remember, be safe, not sorry.